Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly McIntyre. I want to thank you so much for coming on my channel. I am a nutrition and wellness coach, and today I have the privilege to sit down with Erin Stanczyk, who has eatmoverest.com, and you're also on Instagram, YouTube, and I actually stumbled upon her through a plant-based bundle. I saw her ebook, and then I went on, and that was when I saw your vegan like Dorito kale chips. That's what they were. They
Yeah.
were the kale chips. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey. She is a plant. We're going to say plant-based. You're plant-based, and
Yep.
we want to hear all about that.
Okay, sounds great. Well, hi everyone. I am Erin Stanczyk. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me on your channel. Yeah, I guess usually where like to start with my story is high school and college, kind of that transition period, because I was going from basically being coddled by my parents to completely floundering on my own. At home with my mom, like my brother and I were high school athletes. We got really good grades. We were on honor roll, all of that. But we were most definitely eating everything on the spectrum of the standard American diet, from, home cooked, healthy meat and potatoes type meals to lots of happy meals and going out to eat a couple times a week. And also my mom would make us healthy, nutritious smoothies. So it's like we were getting the good and the bad and the ugly, like all together. And I was okay until college. I kind of derailed because I really hadn't shown much interest in like helping in the kitchen, learning how to cook. I honestly didn't know how to boil a pot of water, and I was living in the dorm rooms anyway, so I couldn't do that. So I was living off of beef jerky, ramen noodles, and I would always have like a gallon of milk in the fridge. I don't know why. It just felt like that's what you do. So I kind of started partying a lot, going out, staying out late at night, sleeping in, the blinds were always closed, wasn't getting daylight. I stopped exercising because I wasn't in sports and I didn't really, have the discipline to take myself to the gym. And eventually, at one point, it kind of started to catch up with me. And I decided, okay, well, I'm gaining weight. It was more than the freshman 15. I would say it was closer to 30 pounds. And I felt like all of a sudden I didn't, I looked at a few pictures from the night before partying with friends, and I just felt like I didn't recognize myself inside or outside anymore. And so my roommate and I at the time decided we'd go to the college rec and start exercising, because I think that's the first place we usually look to is exercise, not diet. And it was helping my mood and it was helping me to feel a little bit better, but I was still feeling super drained, having issues with hormone imbalances and mood swings and acne and like really poor digestion. And fast forward a little bit towards the end of college, Dusty and I, my now husband, got together and started dating. And we continued to go out and party and have a lot of fun together. But he actually knew how to cook, which was kind of nice. So he was teaching me, all about protein. We got to have our chicken and our fish, and we were grilling all the time, and having so many like scrambled eggs and eggs over easy and lunch meat sandwiches every day. So it was a lot of animal protein, more than I was even used to having like on my own. So things just kind of got worse. Like, a lot of people say, oh, well, it was just the fast food, causing all of these problems, not the animal products. But that wasn't the case, because as Dusty and I grew closer, we matured a little bit and we stopped going out and we were eating super clean, healthy animal products and not as much fast food. But I continued to feel worse and worse. And it turned into a lot of like scary symptoms, where I got to the point where I got on Google and started searching, and Google became my best friend but also my worst enemy, because it was always giving me the worst case scenario, bad news. And I had numbness and tingling and tons of brain fog every single day, and I was already a socially anxious person, so that didn't help the cause. It just made it really difficult to even, it was really all consuming. Like at bedtime, for example, I would have these spells where I would just like feel so out of my body, so anxious, have breathing issues. Doctors and specialists would chalk it up to anxiety and panic disorder, but I thought I had a rare lung disease. And then I, with the numbness and tingling and all those issues, Google was telling me multiple sclerosis, which was very, very devastating to think about that. The progression of that disease is so saddening. So I went to my dad, who's a physician, and my uncles are physicians. My grandpa is. So it was very easy for me to always get the blood work done, get lined up with specialists if I needed to. My parents kind of always thought I was the girl who cried wolf, but I really, that it's difficult when you're getting met with that kind of response from people when you're most definitely in a state of dis-ease, even though there wasn't I did CT scans, MRIs, all of these tests, and everything was coming back, your brain's fine, there are no lesions, this is fine, it's just anxiety, just relax. And it didn't help. So I had to take it upon myself. Dusty and I, kind of joined forces together, just continuing to seek better health. And eventually outside of exercise, we were active together. We were cycling a lot, and we decided, maybe we need to start figuring out what it is with the food or the supplements and kind of start back with the basics again. So, through all of this, we actually stumbled upon, I feel like this was like divine timing. My uncle, who's a cardiologist, invited us to come listen to a physician speak at a local hospital. And that person ended up being Dr. Esselstyn, who we had no idea about at the time. And I have a degree in biology. So hearing the biology from him, it made perfect sense to me. And I was like, I can't argue with that. Like, let's try this. And we were kind of freaked out about going completely plant-based, but we thought we could do vegetarian. So we went vegetarian for 40 days, felt super amazing. And it was weight off my shoulders because I never liked to cook meat. And afterwards, Dusty bounced back. He's like, I'm going to go through the drive-thru and celebrate and get a burger. And I was kind of like, no, I kind of like being this way. I don't want to go backwards now. So eventually we did continue to do more research and find more conferences to attend, like fully plant-based conferences, health and wellness coaching conferences to get our certification.
Who did you go through for your certifications?
It was actually through my dad's practice. So he would always get these mailers that would, have continuing medical education, CME credits for nurses and practitioners. They had a course called a healthy lifestyle coaching certification, which was for anybody. You didn't have to be a nurse or practitioner. So my mom actually was like, do you think this might be something you guys would be interested in? So it was called A4M, it's called the the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So that's where we got our certification. We traveled to Florida twice for 2 separate conferences, and then we traveled to Vegas twice for 2 separate conferences. Tons of education from so many different doctors. And it was really incredible. So that's where we started.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But you have a degree, a college degree too, so you could dig even deeper.
Yep. Yeah. I got my degree in biology with the intention originally was to go go into medicine like my dad and other family members, but my heart wasn't in it. And I knew it was going to take an extreme amount of dedication that I just didn't feel like I had. And then on top of that, learning what I had been learning, it didn't quite fit for me. So yeah, the health coaching kind of came in, and through there we started blogging. I started sharing healthy recipes that I was discovering that were making me feel better and better. And our website, Eat, Move, Rest, was birthed because it truly was, like I said, getting back to the basics with like we say, the 3 things we all do every day that we could all be doing better: eat, move, and rest. We started with move, but then we soon realized food, like what's on your plate, that's something you have to do 3 times a day. Like that's a lot, at least 3 times a day. And it was helping us to feel better. Friends were asking about our green smoothie. So we started blogging, and then eventually it turned into like, Instagram was growing and we shared it on there a lot. And then I'm like, we got to get on YouTube because I found a lot of inspiration through people who I was following on YouTube. And I was like, we need to be sharing this in our own little niche here in Nebraska. We don't live this tropical, beautiful, well, now we live in Florida, but at the time I was like, not everybody lives in Hawaii and California or Bali. Like, we need to be sharing this for like our friends who we're bumping into at Husker tailgate football games, who are eating hot dogs and drinking beer. So
I had just watched your video on 5 reasons people leave or fail on a vegan diet. First of all, I love the video because you guys add so much color. And I mean, that's the one thing that's so amazing about plant-based is it's so fun just to look at all of the beautiful colors. And to me, that just shows another example of how creative God is, because he has given us all this amazing variety. But anyways, in that video, like what you just said, so I'm bouncing off of that, as far as us needing people to really help motivate, to keep us on track, to make sure that we are doing the things to help us feel our best. So many people, like, this is foreign to them. They've heard terms, plant-based and vegan, but they're scared to death because what they think is boring. And so when you watch your videos and you see the food and every one of those recipes that's in the plant-based bundle in your book, I can't wait to make them because they just look amazing. And I'm not going to feel restricted or like I have left something out. But that's one thing that I just appreciate so much about people like you that are sharing all this information to help us keep motivated. Because when I start to trail in the wrong way, like, I've had to train my mind to not want what I grew up on, right? I mean, it was just, that's what we were used to. And as I started walking away from it, I felt like I was missing something. I felt like I was missing out. So I had to retrain my mind, like, I'm not missing out. I'm actually, like, this is better. This is so much better. And so for people to start watching your videos to help spend some creativity and excitement and motivation, and it's just so needed. So I'm really thankful for all of it.
I feel like we eat so much more variety now than we ever did before. So it's anything but boring.
Yeah,
All it really
exactly.
takes is a good spice cabinet to really bring some of the more bland foods like rice and beans to life, or tofu.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what I explain to my clients. It's like, we are after, a lot of times we're just after taste and texture. So if I can offer you that taste and texture and it's actually even better, what do you care whether it was this way or that way, right? And as I am teaching them those components, then they get excited and they're like, we can do this. And then they move on and start losing weight and feeling better. So when, after your husband had taken that little step back and you're like, no, I'm going to move forward, how long did it take for him to wrap his head around and be like, nope, I am full game, and you guys are doing it together?
Yeah. I mean, then we kind of came to this place where we're like, okay, well, we just won't buy it and cook it at home. But if we want to treat ourselves, like, yeah, we can go out to a nice restaurant and get like a salmon or whatever it is. So that's kind of how we started it to get back together. And then eventually we're just like, you know what? It's working and we're learning more in this process. Like, you can't, once you know something, you can't unknow it. So you watch Forks Over Knives documentary or What the Health or any of those other amazing documentaries. And when you couple the biology with, like, this is what's happening in your arteries, and this is also like how it's going to make you feel, like, you couple those together and it's like, why are we not doing this? Now we have to continue to eliminate these, but we didn't pressure ourselves to go cold turkey with anything. Like, so we just kind of phased, the dairy out, and eggs were the last thing to go. And eventually we decided to go oil free too. So we just gave ourselves grace along the process and did it over time. And thankfully, we are very in sync as a couple, Dusty and I. I know that's not the case for a lot of people. And I feel for those people because it is not easy to want two different things and, not be able to come to an agreement. I know a lot of people, most people struggle with that when going plant-based. They kind of feel alone and isolated.
Yes. Yeah. I'm starting to put out some videos. They have not been edited yet, but they're out there to help people know some simple things that you can swap out to make it easier for couples that aren't on board, because we're not. And I mean, we are the opposite spectrum. But, my husband loves BLTs. And so I just did a PLT, and I
Yeah.
don't do the same mayonnaise. But, that was a really easy switch. Obviously, I'm using different bread. Mine's sprouted.
Yeah.
And that, that's just, we're putting two different things in a toaster, so there are some ways to help support those that, and I'm going to get a little bit more of that out there. But anyways, so what a blessing for you guys,
Yeah, and same for us too. I mean, we really want to continue to share more information on how to navigate that path, because we just came home from 2 weeks back in Nebraska with family, and we were all under the same roof with my parents, which I haven't done since high school. And my little nephew Isaiah is definitely not plant-based. And so we would kind of have to do things like that too. It's just, simple swaps like the plant milk and the dairy milk and the plant-based mac and cheese and the not plant-based mac and cheese. And thankfully, Dusty and I really love to just like always share the wealth and make food that anybody can enjoy. So for example, my dad really enjoys Indian cuisine, and we have a couple favorite restaurants back home that we always go to. Dusty and I have gotten good at making our own versions of those same dishes. And I think a lot of times he didn't even realize, oh, that was already vegetarian. And so we, swap the cream and put coconut cream, and it's the same dish that he enjoys at the restaurant. And it's just cool to do that and be able to open people's eyes where maybe they had a wall up and they said, no, I would never do that. I could never eat that. And all of a sudden they're all enjoying it. So
I had made mock taco meat, had my family over for tacos, and this was not on purpose. I just didn't think about it. So I'm serving it. And I said, how did you like the meat? This was at the end. How did you like the meat? And they're like, oh, it was great. Everything was so delicious. And I said, it wasn't meat. And they didn't even know. And they dished it up themselves, which is the fun,
yeah,
because it actually looked like, the same thing too. And
yeah,
so they never know what they're going to get when they come to my house, but they know it tastes good. So they don't, they don't,
exactly. Definitely. That's
now
awesome.
with your kids, how old's your youngest?
Olivia is 18 months, a year and a half.
Okay.
Max turned 4.
So Olivia, is she still or did you breastfeed, or?
Yep, she still is.
Okay, she
Mhm.
still is, but is she eating some foods now?
Lots of food. Yep.
Okay. So when you started introducing foods, were you making them yourself, blending them in the blender? Tell us about that.
We kind of took the baby-led weaning approach with both kids. So honestly, we didn't have to like bend over backwards to make special meals for her. We started out with just a lot of really soft, palatable whole foods, like let's try banana today, let's try avocado tomorrow, like cooked sweet potato or like soft berries. So we just kind of started like that. And then over time, as we're like, okay, she doesn't have any allergies or sensitivities, because you kind of start slowly. Then over time, we would just make her basically what we were enjoying. Like if we would have a big stew, I would just, it's all soft and cooked up, and there's chickpeas in it and red lentils in there and sweet potatoes and onion and garlic. Everything's really soft and easy to eat. So we didn't really have to do too many like baby foods that were targeted towards just babies.
This is an area that a lot of people don't think about, how even though we overcome so many things as humans, it's kind of amazing. But to be able to support that precious gut microbiome, from the early stage is such a blessing. And so many people don't know how to do that, or they feel like it's difficult.
Of course, especially when it comes to kids, we are met with some resistance from some people, but you're gonna get that. I
Right.
mean, you get unsolicited advice when it comes to being a parent. But we've followed, we've truly educated ourselves. We're not following a trend. We've
Sure.
truly
Right.
educated ourselves to make sure that they're getting well balanced, nutrient dense meals every single day.
When my kids were young, I wish I had all this information. I didn't. I mean, I could literally cry, but no, they're grown and they're fine.
Yeah.
So I got it later, and I did get it while they were still home. But my gosh, I wish I had it, when they were babies. And fortunately, I did breastfeed, so at least I gave them a good, first start. but we had a little bit too much processed food, and I didn't even know it was bad for you. I literally did not know. And it was
Yeah.
years later that, that started being introduced. But for someone to kind of have a step-by-step playbook and, to be able to give them confidence to do it in a new and better way. Now that I
Mhm.
have a grandbaby, she's going to be a year old tomorrow, and to be able to pass that information on for her, and, just exciting to pay it forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm like, I wish I was, born and raised plant-based too, but I always have to remember, I've heard, I think Dr. Esselstyn or one of the doctors talk about, 80-year-olds reversing their heart disease, and that you can literally start at any age and reap the benefits.
Yeah.
That our bodies innately want to heal and want to be in a healthy state, not in a state of dis-ease. It's exciting to hear that too, that it doesn't matter, like it's never too late. You can still reap the benefits. Not just, it's always great to be preventative, but if you haven't been, proactive and preventative, you can always work on reversing or at least stabilizing your dis-ease.
Which is so exciting. And just like you said, it's never too late. And I say, as long as you have breath, it isn't. And even if someone can't heal, they still benefit from getting
Yeah,
better. That
definitely.
has been the most intriguing thing for me. So I'm clean. I mean, that's the lifestyle that I teach. I teach clean. I did a week of raw. Fortunately, I did that first. I did a week of raw, which was hard because I had never done anything like that before. And then later, I did a week of vegan, which once you've done raw, vegan's like, we've got so much freedom here. This is no big deal. But each time I did these things, it just helped me focus more. I mean, you get so many more fruits and vegetables in your life because that's all you're eating. But then when I started stepping away back into my normal, just clean eating, I still was doing so much more of that. And then
Mhm.
noticing the benefits of how I felt better, and retained that, trying to eat 50% raw, 50% cooked, and making sure that you're getting all the servings of fresh fruits and vegetables in your day that you need. But
Mhm.
at the end of this month, I'm going to be doing 2 weeks of raw, of the raw vegan. I'm going to say raw plant-based because I might have something in there, and I don't want to be judged because I forget. And you had said that you're like, we call it plant-based, and I got called out on a video one time. I just forgot, and I had put a drizzle of honey, and they're like, "Hey, lady, that's not."
Oh
That's
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can use
Yeah,
honey,
it's a little scary.
but I'm excited, and I'll be honest, I'm excited and scared at the same time
Mhm.
because I like warmth, and so that's the little element that I'm like, okay, how am I'm going to get through it. It's just, my thoughts. I just have to control my thoughts. We're fine. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
Are going to do one day of fruitarian uh,
Cool.
because I want to feel the effects. And I'd heard a doctor say if you ate one day everything free, you would sleep so much better than you've ever slept in your whole life. I'm like, well, we're going to see if that is true. So we're
Yeah,
starting off that way, and then the rest is just going to be raw vegan. But my cousin's doing it with me, so I'm actually going to start it in Florida. So I'm flying to see
perfect.
where I'm going to go there. I don't. They probably don't have a green zebra near you. I don't know if you've heard of that restaurant.
Yeah, we have heard of it. Where did you say you're going to be staying?
We're going to be in Sarasota.
Okay, yeah, last year in 2021, we stayed on Longboat Key and we went to Green Zebra and St. Armand Circle all the time. It was so cool.
I love that place. That's
Yeah,
only 15 minutes from her house.
cool.
So we're
There's
like,
another place we didn't try yet because it's always closed whenever we get there, but it's called Ione's. It's all raw.
I have not heard of that. Do you know how do you spell that?
IONIE apostrophe S.
Okay.
And my friend is very close friends with Ione. She said it's incredible. They just opened a new space. It's right by Whole Foods downtown in Sarasota. So
Okay, she lives right around the corner from there, so we are definitely going to hit that. And that's one thing that I find so fun is when you can find these places that support the mission. And so you
yeah,
can still go and, feel like you're being treated and not missing
yeah,
out.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's a big part of it. When you take, it's a lot to undertake going plant-based because there's not as much access to like, oh, having someone else cook for you. That just doesn't happen. But more and more places are popping up all the time. In fact, Dusty and I just shared on our Instagram stories about this documentary we just watched called Revelations Cafe. Turns out this is a faith-based, plant-based cafe opened by a couple who met in AA, and it's in Tampa. So it's like really pretty close. Like we might have to make a trip up to Tampa at some point.
yes,
Really good documentary. Everybody in the story, in the documentary shares, you know, like their healing journey to going plant-based. Like basically this couple had a ripple effect and all of their family and friends ended up going plant-based too. So
that's so neat. I love
mhm.
to hear stories like that. I noticed your husband had said food is the portal. And I hung on to that because that is it, to be able to function well and all of these other things that we want to obtain, you know, for quality of life. Food is that is the number one thing that we need to be looking at. And of course, we do need to move our bodies. It's very important. But we run out of steam to move our bodies if we aren't fueling it properly. And then another thing that you guys had said at the end of that video was the reason why you started your channel to help people get healthy, but also to help people enjoy life and life to the max. And
Yeah.
so that is my mission. And that is the reason why I do what I do, because I want people to be able to experience that. And I came from a place where I was at a very low, and it took a while for me to even realize like the way I'm
Yeah.
living is not normal. I'm having these health issues and what's going on. And
Yeah.
I fortunately reached out to the right person to help me.
Mhm.
Not initially. And initially, I had gone a different route, like most of us do. Um,
Mhm.
but anyways, he's like, "Yeah, just take this supplement." And from there, because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this solved my problem."
Yeah.
From there, I started in co-ops and them introducing me to people that were eating clean and healthy, and
Mhm.
you know, starting cleaning that up. And then all of it, like you had said, you had had brain fog. And I, I remember we were playing cards one day and I was the scorekeeper and I felt like I couldn't even keep score well. Like there was
Right. Yeah.
numbness in my brain. I don't know how to explain that. But anyways, you know, for all of that to clear up through
Mhm.
food, you know, and so many people live their lives consistently this way. They don't realize that
Uh-huh.
there is hope and there's help. So
Yeah.
that's why we're here to tell them.
For sure. And I think even a lot of people maybe feel good, but they don't realize they could feel even better. And that's also what we experienced going plant-based. And from a lot of people we've heard from, like, oh, I didn't have any health issues, but I didn't know my digestion could be this good. And I didn't know I could have this much energy. So,
I know I will listen to myself in certain videos and I'll be like, I slept even better. And I'm like, what are they thinking? Like, well, I thought you were really healthy and you were sleeping good. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like, there's levels. When I did raw week, I mean, I'm a thin person, but I still cinched in a little bit in the
uh-huh.
good places, you know, in the places
Yeah.
that I maybe needed to cinch in a little bit. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And honestly, I noticed a difference in the back of my leg as far as cellulite. It had flushed out. And
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
especially at my age, you know, it's like if we can get rid of that, why wouldn't we want to live that way? So I don't know that I'll ever be fully, I don't know. I mean, I would never say never. I don't know that I will be, but I am definitely moving more. Everyone needs to be way more. I have a question because I just wanted to know, what is your absolute favorite raw meal? Like your number one, this is my favorite.
I like this raw rainbow pad thai, or sometimes I call it rad thai because it's really rad. With like zucchini noodles and like shredded carrots and thinly sliced like bell peppers, and has like a really, really good peanut sauce. And it's definitely a favorite.
And then what is your favorite cooked plant-based meal?
Anyone who follows us will probably know we eat a lot of different variations of curry. Like anything, honestly, that's Thai or Indian inspired. I really love like a good Thai yellow curry.
Me too. And do
Yeah.
you have a recipe for that out there too?
Yes, we do. I think we have that on YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. I absolutely love curry. So I had just sent, before we got on, I had sent a text to my cousin and I said, would you eat this? And that was the one that's made with peanut butter.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, she's like, absolutely. I'm like, good, because that is going down. Not eating enough. Your husband had talked about that.
Mhm.
Did you have that transition issue where you realized that you needed to eat more?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. It's just because I honestly think a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie, because I could eat like a 200 calorie lean cuisine, and even that is going to stick more than like 200 calories of bananas or carrots. So
Right.
I think especially when you're emphasizing a lot of like raw living foods, you can definitely eat more calories and it's not going to stick the same way that all of the other processed and animal product foods will. You're getting that fiber. And like I said, it's living. You eat a raw food and your body immediately recognizes it and knows how to break down those nutrients, as opposed to Franken foods where it's like, this is an intruder, this is weird, like we're going to pack this away right here and we don't know what to do with it.
Like you said, our body
Yeah.
knows what to do with it. Therefore, it's totally different because
Mhm.
it turns to fat when it doesn't know what to do with it. So
Mhm.
it's almost like your body turns off, but also what is it, leptin and ghrelin that
Yeah.
work properly when well nourished. And so naturally our mind is like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm not. That
Yeah.
switch on, switch off, where that
Mhm.
gets confused when it's overloaded with excitotoxins and foods that aren't nourishing our body. So it's just a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, you can be eating a high volume of fast foods, or even like I used to do with Subway cold cut sandwiches. I would eat a high volume that was also high calorie, but I would still be hungry and still want more, because my body at a cellular level wasn't extracting the nutrients that it needed from those meals, as opposed to on plant-based. It's like so nutrient dense.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. And I always say, like, if you like to eat, this is the diet for you, because you can eat a high volume and feel satiated for less calories. And you don't really have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. I know it's exciting that we can eat and be well nourished and not gain a pound.
Yeah.
Okay, just the last little thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that you do supplement, and I appreciate you mentioning that because it's so important. And that's one thing that I forgot. I didn't think about when I did Raw Week, and I've been anemic before, and I could definitely tell by the end of that week, just within 1 week, I,
Uh-huh.
so it is something that people need to be mindful of. And
Yeah.
I have not heard of the company. Did you say it's called Complement, the vitamin
Yeah. Mhm.
supplement company?
Yeah.
Okay, and is that um, all in one, or you're getting different supplements from that one company?
They have an all-in-one vegan essential that has like the 8 core nutrients that you might want to make sure that you're getting proper amounts of. And then they also have one that's just B12, D3, and omegas.
Okay,
So if you feel like
that's
that's all you need, you can go that route.
okay. So, how do you make sure that you're getting enough iodine?
Iodine, we do sea veggies, mainly dulse, like the little flakes. They come in like sheets or in flakes. So we get it looks like and smells like fish food, but honestly, I put it in our green smoothie in the morning with all the fruit and all the stuff in there, like you don't taste it. So that's usually how I get it in. Or I used to sprinkle it on my salads, just like a little amount, because it's pretty concentrated. I think a tablespoon has like 300% iodine or something crazy like that.
Wow.
So
Okay. Where do you order that from?
I it's at Whole Foods, but I also get it on Amazon.
Okay.
So that's our primary source of iodine.
How do you spell that?
Dulse, Dulse.
Okay, that's something very important to me. I was very iodine deficient.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And nobody wants that, because then your thyroid is affected, and then that can cause, hypo or hyperthyroidism, which you don't want either one.
No, and so I am supplementing. I'm supplementing with iodorol, but I would much rather get it from, a natural source like that. If
Yeah.
if I can figure out how to it not to taste
Yeah. Yeah. So any type of look into like different types of sea veggies and how you can utilize those, whether you're making like some homemade sushi or things like that.
Okay.
And they make those little seaweed snacks for kids too, if you've ever seen those. They're just like little sheets
I
and
have
they're
seen this. Yes.
called.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing all this information. It is so valuable and so helpful for somebody that is ready to get on this journey
Mhm.
and hear all this stuff. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and you have a great day.